Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, welcome to week 3 lecture 1. So, we will be talking about inclusive tourism. Now, here the topics which will be covered are accessible tourism policy, the inclusive tourism in India and inclusive tourism in the world. The current RPWD Act 2016, it advocates that people with disability, elderly and all, they should have access to everything, every opportunities in life. It's not that people who are disabled will only be going to hospitals and the basic facilities, and they also have the right to recreate. For right to recreation is also because the opportunity of recreation is also important. Why do someone come to a city for living in a city? For various purposes. So, if we say that a city is for all and the right, and we talk about the right to the city, citizens' right to the city. So, these opportunities should not be inaccessible to a group of people. So, with that idea, we all have to create spaces or facilities for tourism and recreation which are accessible. We talk about connecting the world, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So, accessible tourism refers to the concept of making the experience of tourism universally accessible and universal for all by creating accessible information, that yes, where I can go, so that which places are accessible. Also creating that accessible spaces and facilities, be it transportation, be it hotels, be it the destination. We will talk about these in detail. And that means to have a holistic experience of tourist which is very accessible and safe and friendly. Now, the tourism policy of India says that 4 goals: Swagat, welcome, give access and equity; Suchana, information, perceptible information; Suvidha or facilities, simple and intuitive use, flexible use, adequate space for use and low physical effort; Suraksha, security, tolerance for error. So, now this is how I have tried to match the universal design principles with the tourism policy of India, and they are very much in sync, they very much go hand in hand. Now, the new accessible tourism policy by the Ministry of India, which was once in 2011 and then in 2021. So, there are a set of guidelines which are issued, that we have heard of this Incredible India. It talks of having barrier free monuments and tourist attraction to promote accessibility. And also the accessibility requirements are already included in the approval guidelines of 4 and 5 star hotels, but we need to go beyond those, like all the government rest houses. Now, they are many of them, they are adopting the government tour and the tourism hotels and all, they are adopting these accessible facilities. So, this is the National Tourism Policy 2021, which aligns tourism with sustainable development goals through also, and they also have this the concept of the rural destination management plan. It focuses on the last mile connectivity. That means, when someone is going to a tourist destination, accessibility should be ensured to the final point, be the final point may be the hotel, or final point may be the point of the destination, a tourist destination, providing basic amenities using local materials. It talks about infrastructure, digital accessibility and all. Also, it promotes the local entrepreneurship and capacity building among communities, because they also can make the experience of the tourist help in enhancing, what I mean is help in enhancing the experience of the tourist. And also finally, the digital marketing and the private sector led promotion for sustainable tourism. So, this is the basic background of the tourism policy, and we will see that how our concern for the vulnerable group, they fit into this. So, what are the principal barriers to accessible tourism? As we have done for the other cases also, for transportation, for internal environment and all, we have tried to first identify the barriers. So, there are a set of environmental barriers and there are a set of social barriers. So, first the environmental barriers. Now, actually the problem starts from the planning stage, when we are planning and booking the facilities. If our websites are inaccessible, then a person with sensory impairment cannot plan a tour. If the travel agencies, if they call up a travel agency or they go to a travel agency where maybe someone who are not sensitive to the requirement, untrained staff, then that's a problem. So that's the planning and the booking stage. Then you start transportation while you go to to a final tourism destination, which would include transfer from the home to the point of departure of whatever the mode they may prefer, railway, airport, road. Then coming the inaccessible transportation terminal like the station and the airports. Then the difficulties in boarding. So, these are all handled in the transportation section, in the transportation lectures separately. Lack of adapted service like the toilet, information system and the emergency system. So, these are the transportation related barriers. Building, that is say when the final destination. Now, this building could be hotels, these buildings could be intermediate resting spaces, and of course, someone has gone to watch a movie, an inaccessible movie theatre or an inaccessible auditorium or an inaccessible fairground or an inaccessible exhibition, anything. And communication, inadequate or inappropriate signage, not proper braille or public address system. And then within when you finally reach the destination, barriers in moving around in the urban and the rural environment. Like if someone wants to move around the new city and explore it by walking or by wheelchairs, and the roads are not accessible, the footpaths are uneven, or the rural environment, it is rough, rough rural roads. So that means at a destination the barriers which are being faced. Inaccessibility to tourism and general resources, and then limited access to leisure and cultural activities. So, then you have the social barriers to accessible tourism. So, lack of training. Now, this I briefly mentioned, like when the tourism staff are not sensitive enough or not trained enough to respond to the specific needs. In many times you might have seen that when you just book a ticket or you book a hotel reservation, there is a point where you need to say, or there is a column where you need to say that whether any specific requirements are there, any special requirements are there. That means the hotel is showing that concern that should there be any special requirement, they would be aware of that, and maybe then they would try to do something, maybe locate that person in an accessible room or on the ground floor if the upper floors are not accessible, or at least tell them that our hotel is not accessible. Then that is the lack of awareness, because they do not maybe there is not enough in the policy level problem, in the management level problem, or attitudinal barriers. Many a times people are ridiculed that why do you need to travel? If you are on a wheelchair, be safe at home. If you are too old, then stay at home. Why do you need to travel? Why do you need to come and explore? So these are negative stereotype, negative perception. So that's definitely an attitudinal barrier which needs to be moved. Then there are the cultural misconceptions. So these are some deep rooted cultural views that which maybe sometimes not go well with the tourism. So there are maybe some cultural clash and all, which sometimes they act as a social barrier. And of course, lack of inclusive service ethos, like if people are not welcoming, if the local people, so that's why the local people need to be sensitized. They need to be told the benefit of having tourists, because tourism is good for economy also. If for the creative development of the cities, or for cities when they act as I mean this is a very revenue generating activity also. And particularly if I might mention here, like there are many elderly people. Now it says that in various, in various stages of your life, when you are when maybe before you have joined any job, maybe you have all the maybe you have some time and all the energy but less money, and when you have joined your job, you have less time, more energy, more money, but time is less. And after you have retired, you have less time, sorry, you have more, you have lot of time, you have less energy and more money. So that means two things are more there, you have lot of time and you have money, but only energy and stamina is less. So if we just give that, enabling environment or a protective, safe and accessible environment, we can bring in a lot of elderly people into tourism. We can motivate a lot of elderly people into, being actively into this, actively engaged in tourism. So that's a huge potential. So what are the components of accessible tourism? So these are related to, pink ones are related to information, braille information, visual signage, audio visual, high color contrast. These are related to infrastructure, tactile pathways, accessible washrooms, step free movement, accessible drinking water, and these are related to services, that is the travel and tour management, accessible packages, hospitality services, accessible hotel rooms, not only for 4 stars and 5 stars, but also in different categories. Budget hotels also need to have some accessible features. Destination management and services, and very important, the emergency evacuation services. So sensitize and serve, empathy based experience and accessibility in action. So what are the elements in the tourism chain? First is the tourism destination management, tourism information and advertising. So say when you there are different, I mean if you just visit the website of any tourism provider, you would see different packages. You will see that adventure package, religious package, relax package, nature package. There are different categories of tourism. So you will see I mean the trekking tour, honeymoon package and so many things. So why can't we have accessible packages? Why can't we have elderly friendly packages? Maybe it's high time that we give more stress on that, well, this is an accessible package which includes 3 to 4 spots and all of which are accessible. So someone can easily choose that. Then the urban and the architectural environment, modes of transport, cultural activities, which are the accessible activities. Say there may be someone goes to a new city, wants to visit a museum. So of the 20 museums, okay, maybe these 5 museums are accessible. Or all of these 50 movie theaters, these 10 are accessible. So like that. So which are the accessible cultural activities and other tourism and events which might be accessible. Also this is coming up in a big way, that is the rural tourism. Now since this is considered a very sustainable and responsible tourism, and also since this is I mean when people want to be engaged in rural life, there are now rural life, on one hand if facilities are less, also the danger is less. I mean these conflicts that I mean the or dangers of an elderly person going there. So many people who might be slow tourism, what we call, who might be looking for a slow tourism, can choose this, a slow paced maybe a relaxed holiday. So these also need to be promoted, and the basic services to be given, so that these people, these vulnerable people, can be engaged in this. Also this has got the direct impact in benefiting the local community economically and socially. Say a wheelchair user's beach vacation. Let us see that this is a typical scenario, that when a person on a wheelchair desires to have a vacation in one of the sea beaches. So what are the stages they would need to go through? First, home to the airport. assuming that an airport travel, at the airport, arrival and the airport exit, accommodation, local travel to the beach and the beach experience. So, first need a accessible taxi or an accessible public transport to go to the airport, proper drop off zone in the airport, step free airport entry and the inside the airport the various accessible spaces. Same is this is not only airport, just I have given it because just to explain, but this could be for airport, this could be for railway station, this could be for this bus terminals. So, this will be, now these things are, as I said, are separately, if you go through all the lectures you would see these things are separately handled in the transportation specific lectures. Then at the airport, while you move in, step free terminal access, TGSI, low height reception, check-in counters, golf carts, adequate auxiliary services, flight information dissemination for the hearing and vision impaired. So, that means everything within the airport. So, the let us not say airport. So, within the terminal whatever the facilities are to be required, physical as well as sensory. Next, what you have? Next, you have the arrival and the exit. So, while boarding, luggage belt, accessible toilets. Now, accessible toilets on the flight is a facility which is rarely available. You have it on the in the terminals, but not at all, not yet in many places in India. Then when you reach there, the accessible accommodation. So, now this will be as exactly similar to what we have done for internal environment, only the spaces are different. A wheelchair accessible hotel room, a wheelchair accessible entry, accessible dining areas or accessible recreation spaces, accessible circulation spaces. Then local travel to the beach, that is accessible public transport and a digital or guide map with if there is if it is on the somewhere on the road, then with proper braille signage. And then finally, the beach experience, the access mats, it can be the beach mobility equipment, different types of wheelchair there, so that someone can transfer from their personal wheelchair to this beach mobility equipment, and also the wheelchair accessible changing rooms and toilets. This is nothing very difficult to do. Putting a pathway like this or mat like this, so that someone can go, or just having some this beach special wheelchair. This is not a big thing, but what you require, you require the awareness and understanding and the willingness to do that. Examples in India also. We have the Marina Beach in Chennai, and we have in Puri Sea Beach. Just let us go through some global good practices. Majority of this world famous buildings are already accessible, but where probably the problem lies is that we have to increase the number. We have to make as many as buildings possible accessible. There are always some good examples or rather best practices, but we should not stop with the best practices. It's just and many a time there are very very simple, I'll show some Indian examples later. There are very simple retrofitting measures, if adopted, they are good enough to give access to at least up to some level, at least, if not the entire building be made accessible. Germany, Japan, where they have given a lot of stress on transportation. Now, this actually in the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics which happened. So that gave a lot of boost to this. So there was led to a mass retrofitting of hotels, transport, and public spaces. I mean, it's not that this in India only you need retrofitting. There are in many countries they have done very good retrofitting examples. Like they have retrofitted most of the buildings. Accessible toilets have been made accessible. Public transport have been organized. Accessible tourism in Spain. So this is again the beach tourism. I mean beaches are actually the easiest thing probably to make them accessible, because you just need to put some mats and give some these special wheelchairs and have some accessible toilets in toilets, you know, and just standing. That's all. India is a land of monuments, so you have to have something for the monuments. Now you have to in many places there are dams already, but certain places you need to just where there are steep steps and all, you need these ramps can easily be added with proper handrail. Now so credit is the Planetable, where they have borrowed the photograph from their website. Now this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site at there. Now this is an example. This is the Diwani Arm in the Red Fort, where you can see the ramp. Now one thing probably what we can see here, like this is the very beautifully done. I mean the way it merges with the building. I mean it's not looking. It's an addition. It's definitely retrofitted. But the way it merges, the choice of material, the choice of the color, the material, it merges very well. This is a new temple which is at Akshardham. So now here also the basic white color is very subdued. Now this has been done for visibility and for just because this was on a rainy day the situation was, and how it that's why, so that there is no people do not slip on that on the white stone there. So these mats were placed, but this is a temporary one. I mean the blue one. Just can visit this website. This is very interesting. So good places to visit in Delhi as a wheelchair user. Just I have mentioned the link here. This is Rajghat. You have the Humayun's tomb. You have like this I was talking. Is how well they have done this. Just a simple addition, or the simple ramp which is being given in a proper slope makes the entire this level accessible. And also there are I mean these new buildings is much easier because they already come up with these inbuilt accessibility features. But the challenge is when you have to make the old buildings accessible. But of course it is challenging, but not impossible. And I again repeat what in one of our earlier lectures what we talked, that there are 4 stages of accessibility. The last one is the universal design. Before that there was the barrier free. Before that there was the making it visitable, and even before that before that there is something which is the reasonable accommodation. So we can do something at least, if not everything. And who are the beneficiaries of accessible tourism? All persons with disabilities, the elderly, the foreigners, because who might be many of them might be requiring these accessible facilities. The local residents in the destination, because there are elderly people, elderly local people also. We don't need to have just only the outsiders coming there. People with pushchairs and prams, the pregnant women, person with temporary disability. You go to a place and you just have strained your ligament. Your entire vacation goes waste. People with obesity due to some reason or some physiological constraint. Person carrying large items. Children, people accompanying the person with disability. So all will be benefited. So we have to develop some performance indicators, that what is the demand, and as I was just telling that the demand is increasing. particularly the elderly people. They are, I mean, the retired people, elderly people, they are free, they have money, they have desire, might not be having the physical capability. So if you give them that that accessible, safe and inclusive environment, they are going to be a tremendous boost in tourism. And the world is aging, so our customers are also becoming more and more old for everything. I mean, so you have to have this tourism also, benefit tourism also. It generates employment, so there is a demand for the skill upgradation. So we have to have the adequate supply, and also what is very important, that sustainable tourism is essential, that we should not harm the basic setting in order to promote more and more tourism. So that is also important. The investment and financing is important, and also what is important is that the inclusive growth and the local communities. When we are talking of inclusive design, and in order to promote more and more tourism and go more and more tourists, we should not compromise with the basic requirement of the communities, because they also should be part of this tourism, whatever we are trying to do to boost tourism. Now, that's some just to tell that how different countries they are harnessing this potential of accessible tourism. Australia, USA, UK and Germany, they are generating a lot of revenue, just to some of the basic good practices. So this is just to conclude that we need to include all the stakeholders, because everyone has something to contribute. The hoteliers have to make their hotels accessible. The transport providers can make their their vehicles accessible. The private transport providers. The local youth can form up volunteer groups and thus help the tourism, but to help the tourists, particularly elderly and all. That will also have enough, that will be economic gain and job creation, and that also will improve the situation. Also, there are these particularly there is a lot to be done by the tourism. Tourist agents, tour agents, what we call tourism service providers, they can well design this, depending upon, we are talking about the demand and all. So depending upon the demand, they can design this well designed accessible packages, elderly package, or this person with disability package, or whatever, just accessible packages like that. So we require this multi-stakeholder participation. So references: accessible tourism guidelines in India, recommendation accessible tourism by UNWTO, and national strategies for development of rural tourism in India, because this slow paced tourism what I am talking about. That's all. Thank you.